Today I'm going to be showing you how to put in gauges into your Pontiac Solstice or Saturn Sky. I'm going to be using Aeroforce gauges today. A lot of GM cars use them. They're very good. We'll see that in a little bit. And the process is pretty much going to be the same for any type of gauge. So if you're looking to put any gauge like a boost gauge, AFR gauge, oil pressure, this will be the same process throughout. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your sun visor, lower it. If you come behind, you'll see that there's a bolt right here. That is a T30 Torx bit. So we're gonna get this Torx bit and we're gonna take this off. Okay, next we're gonna take an interior trim removal tool. These are plastic, so it won't scratch your panels. But you can pry this panel down. If you don't have these, they're pretty cheap. I would recommend getting it, but you could always just push this down. It's just like pull this down, but it makes it easier with the trim tool because there's a clip about here. So it's just easy to put the trim tool here and pry it, and this clip will pop out. So I'm gonna do that now. So you can see now that this is pulled down. You will feel a set of clips around right here. That's not gonna be enough to get this to be where it's free. Like you can see, I could easily push this that way to pull the A-pillar out. But there'll be a second set of clips around here, what feels like. And those have to come out as well. So you can see the first set right here. And then it's hard to see, but there's a second one around here. And you have to pop that one out so you could have enough space to slide this open. So now what we're gonna do is pull this off the A-pillar. So you can use the trim tools as well, or you can also go by hand again. You have to be careful when pulling this off. If you have the tweeter right here, the speaker on the A-pillar, it has a cord connected to it. Also the OnStar is right here. So don't pull too much, but you know, pull it just to where it unclips. There's a clip around here and a clip around here. And once those unclip, the whole A-pillar will be loose. So it's a little tough, but you could just pry it back, and you can see it's getting stopped on here. So you just pull this down, and then you could pull this pillar over. But I want to show you behind before I did that. So there's a clip about right here, you can see. And then the second clip is right down there. And you can see the wiring. So now what you want to do is pull the A-pillar this way while holding this down, and you'll see it'll pop right out. And then you also want to lift up so that it passes this. But once you pull it this way, it should slide right out. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so now that the A-pillar is down, you could see the speaker wires right here. So, you know, obviously you don't want to pull too far, but this we have to disconnect and transfer over to the new DDM Works A-pillar that could hold the gauges. So we're gonna unplug this here. And normally you'd have the OnStar microphone here, but I know the previous owner ended up removing it because they did Sirius XM, so they had a different microphone there with an antenna. So okay, so this plug just has a tab on top that you can push down. If you can't get it with your finger, just use like the smaller edge of the plastic pry bar and just push on the tab right here, and it'll just pull on the other side. It'll come right out. But now the whole thing is free. And now I'm gonna go show you the new pillar, and we'll compare and see how this has to go on. I know this is plastic welded, so we might just have to drill these out or heat it up a little bit with a solder. But drilling would be easier, so we'll drill this out and we'll transfer this to the new gauge pod. But it's completely out of the car now. So I have the new DDM Works gauge pod now, and this is the original. I did order black, and you can tell it looks a lot more glossy. I'm sure it's just because it's brand new, but I'm sure it will probably eventually fade into something more similar to this. But this is black, and then I ordered the black one, so this is it. What I did notice is that there's no mounting clips like the original. So if we turn this one around, and this one, you can see this one has the mounting clips, this one doesn't. I'm assuming it's because the location of the gauge pods, but with the screw up here for the visor that holds this, and how it's wedged in at the bottom near the dashboard, this should be held in fine. I do like how they also added a gasket at the top where it normally intersects with the window visor. So it should have a nice clean seal. But yeah, this is it. So we have to move this tweeter over to here. Okay, so now we're gonna take a 3/8 drill bit, and we're going to drill out the plastic welds. You really don't have to go crazy, because it's just a thin layer of plastic. You just want to be sure to go slow and stay centered on the center of the plastic weld. And there's 3. So here you can see they're marked with yellow, but we're just gonna drill these out like this. So I'm gonna do that now. So after a little bit of drilling, you can see it just popped right off. You can see this is where it was mounted to. It's just plastic, and it had melted plastic on top basically, so you just have to drill it out with the 3/8 bit. But now this is completely out, and we can transfer it to the new gauge pod. Okay, so they recommend test fitting it before you go ahead and put in the speaker and wire up all the gauges. So this is the test fit. They do say to take off the top. You know, you want to have the door open, it makes it easier. And you could run your finger under this or that trim tool to get the rubber around it like this, like it should. It does fit pretty good. Here, the instructions specifically say that this is left with extra material to account for like the variances in production. So there is a gap here that we could either trim or leave, but I did take off this rubber piece just to make it easier to install. But it looks like if we did leave this, it would that would cover the gap. So I might just throw that back on, you know, after I glue the speaker, and it should be good with no gap. So you can see the black doesn't really match perfect. I'm not sure if I ordered the right one, but I assumed this interior is black. But yeah, so it looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna continue. Okay, so now we have this here. What you want to do is take sandpaper and sand this edge, and then we're gonna use black RTV silicone. That's what DDM recommends to glue this onto here. They recommend lining it up like this, so you have this touching, this is close touching, and then that is close touching there, so you could seal it all around. I also recommend just popping out the speaker. You could just pull these tabs right here, take it out, and then just glue the plastic so you could see better. So I just put the silicone like this. I did a ring around the cone, and I just added 2 drops where the plastic legs on here are gonna sit. So I'm gonna put it on and then clean up the front side with Q-tips just to make sure it looks clean from the front. So you can see here I used tape to hold the speaker down, and then I just put a lot of the black silicone because obviously there was a gap, but I just tried to fill in the gap to the plastic as good as I can. And you also want to make sure it lines up here. So that's what I used the tape for, to make sure this was lined up straight. And I made sure to clean this side to make sure there's no silicone coming out. But it should dry for 24 hours. However, it should be good enough to put on after an hour, but to fully cure 24 hours. So we're gonna let this sit while we run the wires for the gauges now. All right, so now while that's drying, we're gonna run the wire. So first, we're gonna wanna pop this off. You can use the trim tool like before, and just pry this and it'll pop right off. All right, so as we were letting that dry, we ran this right here, we plugged it in. We took this panel off. There's a bolt right here and a bolt right here. You could pull this panel down. There's like some tree style clips in here. You just pull this right here and this whole panel come down. So we routed this right around, so it's running right through here, right under here, and then there's a gap right here where you could just squeeze the wires in. I rolled up the wires here, and now It's running right to the top, so now hopefully the gauge pod is dry and now we can throw it in. All right, so now this is glued. We're gonna take off the tape, and this plug, you just wanna make sure you plug back in there first. And then obviously we have the gauges in here, so we're gonna plug in the gauges and then slide it in same way we took it out. All right, now you can see we got them in. So all you wanna do is push this back into place and then screw the window visor back on here, and then you'll be all set. We can start the car. All right, so I've been driving around with the gauges for a bit, just so I could give you a nice review. You can see here I've set it to have the boost pressure. So this also shows vacuum. So when your car is idling, this car specifically, it idles around -20 PSI. And then, you know, as you drive, it'll go up. So this car's tuned, so it goes up to about 23 PSI. I have a bigger turbo that's going on. It's going to be higher than that soon. This is the oil temperature. So I have that set. You can see I just got home, so the car is turned off. But the oil is still hot, obviously. So that's at 183. Then here I have the air fuel ratio set. So you can see that's on top, and then the coolant temperature at the bottom. And I was driving with the top closed, but there really is no glare. Like, I held it directly in the sun before installing, and because I have the back background with the white letters, I can see them perfectly clear. It might be hard for the camera to pick up, but it's very clear. I have no issue seeing it, no glare, especially for a convertible. It's something good to consider. But I can show you running through it right now. So you want to hit these two buttons, and there's a lot of options that you have to do, but you can scroll through this. So this is to scan for check engine lights, I believe. Setup is where you go to pick your functions that you want to display. So I'll scroll through. We have the intake air temperature, ambient air temp, coolant temp. There's a lot of stuff in here. Mostly everything works for this car specifically, besides the oil pressure. There's no OEM oil pressure sensor, and this reads everything off the ECU. So whatever the ECU can read is what this gauge can read. So this car specifically has a wideband O2 sensor, so that's good. You could get an accurate air fuel ratio off this, but I'm just scrolling through to show you everything that you could do. But specifically, I already showed you what I usually go with. So once you click it, it'll reset and display the new display like this. It takes a second, but you can see. So there it is. I have the boost on the top and the oil temperature on the bottom. And then if we go to the menu again, you can see this is, I think it's just how long your engine has been on for on a single like drive. You could record data, you could play back the data, check for misfires. This is to check your check engine light. If you have a check engine light, you could scan it, and you could also clear it. And this is to invert the colors. So right now I have it set like this, where it's a black background with white letters. I think it just looks nicer, but you could also make it where it's a white background with the black numbers. And you could dim them or make them brighter. You could check the data rate. The performance is pretty cool. When you run through it, it tells you the 0 to 60 times, quarter mile times. Obviously you have to do it, so when you turn it on, you start the car at 0 miles per hour, and then you just do your 0 to 60, and it'll tell you the time and miles per hour and everything. And the same for these are just other performance stuff. Could adjust your horsepower, because it'll tell you a rough range of what your horsepower is. You could change the logo that it displays when you start it, and how to control the controls, what you want to do with this. But yeah, that's it. I mean, the gauge has been really good. I've used it for a couple days. I had no issues with them. They read everything, and yeah, that's pretty much it. They look really good, especially from the outside when you have the top down. So one other thing to mention is it has a shift light. So if you look, those two dots on the top, they're a little hard to see, but those will blink red when you set them to a certain RPM, whatever RPM you want to shift at. So, you know, on this car, you could set it right to the red line, which is about like 6,800. You could make these just blink red when you get to that. So it's good for like autocross or any type of track racing or anything. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I have a lot of stuff coming. I have a bigger turbo. We're doing a clutch. I have a custom spoiler that it's like a duckbill style spoiler. But yeah, I'll show you the outside of the car right now. So it's super dirty. It's been winter, but today's the first nice weekend we've had. But gotta give it a nice wash and be good to go. Thanks for watching.